everyone. Welcome to IGN Pro League number 3. This is Origins. We are here at Bally's Casino. We have the players panel with 4 wonderful players. To give them a warm welcome. On the other side of the table, we have Stephano representing Millennium. Right next to him, we have IdrA from Evil Geniuses. White Ra from Thermal Take Esports.
He said, who is that?
And, of course, Huck here with, as well, Evil Geniuses. So we're going to be starting off with just a few questions, and once we get through those, we'll be opening up questions to people who are here in the audience and in the chat. So if you're watching at home, do to open the stream chat if you want to ask any of these players anything. So one of the primary questions I heard from people when I was asking people about their interest with this panel was people really just wanted to know how you guys prepare differently for a live event like this as compared to a more stretched out online event where you've got one match at a time and you have time to prepare for each individual opponent.
Okay, I guess I'll take this one. The only tournament that I feel you can specifically practice for, like you said, would be GSL, where you have a long stretch of time and you have a set of maps and a set of opponent. So for that kind of tournament, you basically want to run a lot of games over those 3 specific or 5 specific maps with a set of practice partners. I think the best way to practice for a tournament like this or MLG, where you basically have a large map pool and then like any number of opponents, is just play a lot of games and generally have 2 to 3 builds that you feel comfortable and safe with on numerous maps for each matchup, but not so much specific practice for a specific opponent.
Sounds reasonable. Anybody else have something to add?
I'll be.
Yeah, you agree. Fair enough.
Full answer.
Okay, next question.
Yeah. So how have you guys liked IPL so far? This extra day seems to spread out the time. Seems like you guys have a little bit more time in between matches. Do you prefer it when you got your matches right after one another? Do you like to have some time to cool off in between?
Normally I hate waiting at events, but for this one specifically it's nice. I just got in from another tournament, so kind of a day to recharge and just get used to everything. And so it's working out nice here.
And I want to say we're here in casino, and we live right here. We play right here, and place for food and very close. So it's only one place, and if you're tired, you can go back in your room and sleep in 1 or 2 hours before game, and relax.
Having everything centralized with the weight is really good.
Yeah, I concur. Stephano agrees too, right, Stephano?
Yeah. I like to pee before games, so it's good to have some time to
Okay, so I'm not entirely sure how to follow that one up, but I'll just try my best. So I heard some comments earlier that some of the EG were a little disappointed about our opening ceremony. I feel like...
What?
What?
Me?
Yeah.
You mean the compilation of us losing?
Yeah.
That kind of sucked.
Wait,
how did you feel about that? You were in the audience, right?
I'd like to point out that I won the series versus Ruby, so. But other than that, yeah.
What's the story here? I feel like I'm missing out.
Were you at the opening ceremony?
The opening ceremony was like highlight videos of top 10 best, and Jeff got raped in one of them, and then 5 worst, and it was me, Ben, me, and then 2 others.
Oh, like baddest plays or something?
Yeah.
Oh. You shine in
I
those
did well there.
aspects.
I have to admit the premature ejaculation made me laugh.
Did they actually say that?
Yeah, there was a little subtitle on the bottom of the screen.
Cute. You followed it up nicely.
Yeah.
That made it less awkward.
So, Stephano, we saw you on stage earlier against Boxer. A lot of people were wondering if you're going to do your Zergling-only style. Was there anything in particular that caused you not to show that?
I lost 2 against Alive doing it, so it's quite stupid to do 4 games with same strat.
Fair enough.
And I'm not stupid.
Thank you for the clarification. So, does Does anybody in chat in the audience here have any questions they'd like to ask to our players? We have some mics. People are going to walk around if you have any questions. If not, we can open it up to stream chat.
I have a question.
Wait for the microphone.
Okay, my question is for Huck and IdrA about, you guys got a lot of flack from the community about actually being on the same team for a while, and that the rivalry was a huge thing, and that people were pretty pissed with Huck for leaving TL. How has the rivalry changed over the time of you guys being on the same team?
Greg wants to go first on this one.
You can talk about betraying Liquid first.
So the question is how the rivalry has changed, because I don't want to answer Greg's question. Okay. I feel like even though I joined Evil Geniuses, we still have a rivalry as far as competing. We've always been competitors, and we always like to try to do our best. And if I do bad or he does bad, we kind of joke around and give each other shit, and we always try to, you know, beat each other, I guess. I mean, I think it's always nice when we meet in tournaments, even though we are on the same team. The crowd really likes it, and we're just more friendlier now, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, the two best North American players by a pretty fair margin. So like whenever he's actually competing in North America, we're gonna hit each other. So that kind of leads itself to a rivalry. But no, as for like an unfriendly rivalry, we've always gotten along pretty well outside of games.
Yeah, even before when people thought we hated each other. I mean, when we talked about StarCraft 2, there were some heated moments, but other than that, we've always gotten along pretty well. So, yeah. Okay.
Touching on
Anybody else before we open it up a little further?
Not everybody at once.
Can you give us a rundown of what your normal week or month looks like as far as travel time, how much time you guys play StarCraft 2, what you guys do on the weekends, how many tournaments are there a month, etc.?
I don't know where you are, but can you ask? Okay, right. Oh, okay. Which one of us? Because I think it varies greatly depending on who you're asking.
I'd like to know White Ross too, mostly because he's coming from the Ukraine.
Okay.
It's always very hard because, for example, my flight it's from Ukraine to USA about 11 or 12 hours, and okay, you're very tired in road, but second problem it's jet lag. You need, I think, before event coming for 4 days before for preparing to time difference, and it's always very hard. I come, for example, in USA and stay here almost 1 month because I won't play after in MLG and comment like guest to BlizzCon. But I not live in Ukraine because it's a very terrible fly. Always fly to Ukraine and back USA. Better stay in one country. And after I back in Ukraine in November, I take part in Assembly Invitational event in Germany, fighting in Berlin, and of course DreamHack. So 3 events in 1 month. It's
Tough.
Yeah, it's standard, I think.
So would you say that you kind of run yourself dry if you go to too many live events in a row and you really just want to take some time off?
Yeah, I think sometimes need to make rest because it spent too many energy. All trips spend not only you physical energy and you main energy. And when you too many traveling, for example, I back in home and sleep 2 or 3 days, almost not walking, not play too hard. And of course, I miss to my family, to my wife, and try take my wife next time with me, and it'd be more easy.
What about you, Huck? You've been pretty much not traveling around too much. Do you like having the chance to travel around and change your scenery?
I think it depends on the tournaments, but when you have to take into consideration how many good tournaments there are right now, it's really hard for a player to be invited to something like IPL and then have MLG and be seated in that and want to get points for the final event that's in Providence, and then like get invited to DreamHack Spain, which is a really good location and a really good tournament, and still having to play in like GSL and whatnot, it's a lot, and it's very stressful and hard on you in a lot of different ways. But as of right now, I just feel like I have to do it, but I don't think it's the best choice. So I think in the future I'll start declining tournaments.
What about you, IdrA? You travel around quite a bit.
No, I agree a lot with him. You have to get out there 2 tournaments. Like that's the entire point of things. You have to represent and compete and everything. But it really gets to a point where there's too much. Like I got in from China at midnight last night, and then I go straight to MLG Orlando after this, and then 2 days later I leave for France for ESWC. So I'm gonna have literally 2 days of practice over the next month, and that takes a massive toll on you as a player, plus the travel issues they talked about. So yeah, it really gets to be too much. But like you said, I mean, who do you turn down? Do you turn down IEM or MLG or IPL? It's a really good problem to have, but it is a problem. You got to find a balance.
What about you, Stephano? I was talking to you earlier. You said this was your first time up in the States for a tournament before. Do you like the change of scenery being over here in the States as compared to Europe?
Yeah, but it's quite hard with the time delay, and it's really hard to play at really good with while being tired. So yeah.
I think he managed fine today.
I think it's only one way. It's cancel it, not take part in all events. Choose like say either 2 or 3 events, and comment before events for 3 or 4 days. If it's big time difference, for example, 6 hours or more, and you have time to relax, preparing for jet lag, and have times for some practice game.
Yeah, some of the onus is on the major tournament organizers to spread it out better too, because we actually have 7 major events in the next 2 months.
Yeah.
And we've had some dry months over the winter or over the summer, and I know December there's like nothing.
So would you actually prefer to have the events, through those off-season typical times, so things are spread out a little bit more?
It's better for esports, better for the players who want to take it really, really seriously.
Or make bigger events and fewer events.
Yeah.
Like IPL 3.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Everybody's got to speak more to the mics.
Mic check. 1 2 1 2. I've always wanted to do that. Okay.
You good now?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
6
Can we move
pool.
on?
6 pool?
Yeah.
Okay.
6 pool?
Hack like it.
Was that a
After DreamHack,
Yeah.
hack like.
was that a suggestion of a special tactic to Zerg players?
Yeah, try. It's depends.
He liked it because it won him a tournament.
It depends about map, about start position, and about players, of course. But I think community wait tomorrow game between me and IdrA. It's I think a game of the day. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't never make 6 pool or 9 pool. Almost never.
There's some like metagaming going on right now. You guys don't even realize.
So I can make double Nexus.
You can make double Nexus anyway. Probes beat lanes.
And fighting between probes and drones.
Right.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. One thing I didn't really think about until I came and I actually saw players playing live. Specifically, I saw, I don't know if the Muslim was just particularly picky, but he was complaining about the table. He was on the end of the table being very floppy and wiggling around. And my question is, I was wondering how much do
Specifics?
sort of like logistics that are sort of out of your control. How much does that impact your ability to play?
I think it affects it greatly. Probably the best player that ever played Brood War, Flash, well, in my opinion, at least one of the best for sure. He actually takes a ruler where he goes and plays, and he'll measure like every centimeter or an inch or whatever of where his keyboard is compared to where his mouse pad is, compared to where his mouse is, and his seat length and stuff. It's just very important to try to mimic wherever you practice. Like if it's me, I want to mimic, my exact seat position at the OGS house compared to how far away my monitor is, because I'm got really bad vision, so I usually have my monitor really close compared to other players. And if you feel uncomfortable in any way, it will greatly affect your play. And if it's a big issue like the table is flopping or the stage is shaking or something like that, it's just it's a really big problem and a really big distraction to have. And I think all players think it's very important to have everything in perfect setting.
Yeah, it is actually a little bit player dependent. The Muslim's one of the more temperamental about his settings and stuff, but the settings here in the open bracket are pretty terrible. They have an S-shaped table and they have a big mouse or tablecloth on it and stuff. But no, a big thing, like Huck said, is the distraction. Actually, even if it doesn't concretely affect your play, it just distracts you, and you know this isn't exactly what I like. It could be better, and that gets in your head while you're playing. That really messes you up sometimes. So, but it does depend player to player. Some people are just comfortable in almost any setting.
What about temperature? I know that's a big thing in a lot of these LANs. Would like to keep it like a freezer.
If it's cold enough to make your hands stiff, then
Yeah.
that's obviously a huge problem.
The hands are a huge issue. I think every event, it's our job as players to complain as much as we can, but like this event is really good on food and restroom and the booths, but I would like every event to have like hand warmers or something, because having your hands cold is like the worst thing you can do. You feel super, super slow, and I think the older you get, the worse it gets, so.
Booths help a lot with that. Like, I love playing stage matches MLG
because it's hot.
The booths are always hot.
Yeah, I would rather be like sweating balls than cold at all. I don't care. Just if I'm hot, it's good. Right, Rael?
What about you, Sue?
I would say, of course, it's very important when player feeling very comfort when he play. For example, if you play from home, you can show a better game because you prepare and play many times in your table, your chair, your monitor, and it's always different. All events have different table size, different monitor, different chair, and of course it's not easy. But I think if you practice 1 or 2 days in the same condition, you can prepare for important game. Just spend more time.
I think that's it.
Yeah, we're getting a new one now.
Okay. You're doing good.
Thanks.
All right, so I'd say you guys are probably some of the most marketable people in the game. And besides winning, what do you think plays into that? Specifically White Raw, but all of you. What makes you so marketable?
You have to have a personality, one way or the other. It has to be something people can connect to and like get behind and root for on an emotional level. Because honestly, a lot of people in the community don't really understand the game on any meaningful level, so it's hard for them to get too attached to it if they can't actually like support the player directly. So yeah, just having a personality is huge.
Yeah. You say it like a robot.
I teach by example. I mean.
Yeah.
So would you say that the whole people loving you or loving to hate you is good for that?
Yeah. That's pretty much what I said, yeah.
Good, wait, Rael. What do you
I think sometimes players show emotion. Of course, when you preparing and spend many time for practice and someone make a lane with you and it's work, of course some players very mad and maybe not write GG or can say something bad. But after this, but after this, they very fast relaxing and again very friendly. So it's just only about emotion, I think. I have big experience and I understand it's impossible to win any game, but just when you lose, you need to work harder and fix it your mistake. And of course, StarCraft 2 game, it's a game where you can easy using any element build orders. It's work more powerful when it's working StarCraft 1. So it's too easy game and too strong aliens in StarCraft 2. Of course, when profi spend many time and lose someone who not for
bad.
it, yeah. Badly players, of course, IdrA sometimes very mad.
That thing didn't work anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Hey, now the lights are on.
Yeah, it's working.
You
now.
fixed it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Take that seriously. Just
Okay,
fix it.
double. Job again.
Are there any other questions in the audience? Oh,
For IdrA and IdrA, and forgive me if this question sounds a bit ridiculous, IdrA especially, given how much you discuss balance, do you guys ever miss playing Brood War? You ever feel nostalgic about it, or are you content with how StarCraft 2 has developed over the past year and a half?
No, I miss a lot, especially what he just said about how all-ins and like risky play are a lot more powerful in StarCraft 2. It just makes it much more frustrating. Like you had that in StarCraft 1. There was a pretty reasonable luck factor there as well, but it was much smaller. And to devote 10, 12 hours a day to something and you can then lose because someone flipped a coin and it worked out well, that's like the worst feeling in the world. So just solely off that, I miss StarCraft 1 quite a bit.
Of course, I very miss in StarCraft 1 because it's a game like chess, very balanced game. But at the same time, I like StarCraft 2 because you need 300 APM for play in this game. So sometimes I think maybe some company can make event StarCraft 2 and StarCraft 1, like make some show match. It's be very fun to watch. Community.
do we have a mic over there?
Testing. All right. I actually want to ask IdrA. I noticed that you say like Team EG, they have like practice partners, and I noticed when I watch your stream, you play a lot of ladder, and I wanted to know if you have any secret practice partners or if you really view like ladder as your best way of training.
I have many friends, and sometimes I just write my friends, ask if they want practice, and most of the time they say, of course, no problem. And some players writing me about practice if they have some important game and they need protos, we can practicing. But my favorite partner for practice, it's I think Dimaga and Strilok. Of course, sometimes I play with Moro and rest player from Soki, rest player from Germany and Sweden. But most players, it's from Europe, because when you play in Europe, ladder or Europe Battle.net, better play with people who live in Europe, because it's not delay. We have a little bit delay between Europe and USA. For example, if you play NSL matches, we have a little bit delay, and it's not good for game, I think. And of course, we have, for example, some days ago, Red Bull LAN bootcamp in Santa Monica, and I play a lot with Red, with Chef, and with Bowmer, Korean player. It's, I think, very great when we have some event like bootcamp for practice and player. Not only practice, we talking about strategy, about balance, about maps, and make feedback each other. So.
And also another one, Stephano. Like, what's your secret for going like 50-2 on ladder? Like, when you go on stream and you just literally just beat people over and over again. Are you practicing behind the scenes and then just go on ladder and just destroy kids, or do you use ladder as a main source of practice as well?
My only practice is later. I don't like to play custom games with guys, because we meet in every tournament, and it's hard to train something when your opponent knows what you will do. I try to train with guys I will never meet, like Chess and Struck. I know he was in China, so I played with him, and Chess too, he was, I don't know how I played him, but about the ladder, no, I don't play before. I just play ladder and trying my best. Like IdrA said, it's really easy to lose, so some stupid audience, they take SCVs and they win. It's really hard to make this kind of score, because you take a lot of shit in ladder, and yeah.
Yeah, but in the ladder, I think many people who play with you, they try using some crazy build or all-in build, and it's very good for practice, because if you preparing stop all-in, any all-in push, you get very good advantage in game.
What do you think about with some of the new ladder maps, it being harder to practice for like a more tournament setting when you've got a lot of these maps that you'll never see in a tournament on the ladder pool?
Yeah, it's terrible.
I think a close position, for example, Shadow Temple with Terran, it's very boring. You can't make expand, you can make push, and you just waiting when Terran come and kill you.
Hey, this is just a question for everybody. I was just curious, what's your favorite StarCraft 2 unit, and which one do you hate the most?
I can say.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, my favorite units it's IdrA because it's very strong units and very beautiful and new one. I have two not good. I not like two units. Yeah, it's first is Ghost and second it's Infestor.
Infestor's probably my favorite unit because it pisses the players from the other races off, and it's nice for them to experience that once in a while. And I hate Ghosts. I don't know. They don't get used nearly enough, but fuck Ghosts.
Go ahead, Stephano.
I hate Sentries, Colossi, High Templars, Mothership too. I
Yep.
guess, yeah. And I like Lynx, yeah.
My favorite unit's Blinkstalker, and then I hate Ghost and Infestors too. That's
So it's fair to say you guys don't like the units that kind of remove micro options from the table?
Well, you see most of the answers on this panel. I think 3 out of 4 were Ghosts and Infestors, so...
I not like when players abusing some units, and it's very hard to make some combo for stop with abusing.
Yeah.
You can do everything, but it's almost not work.
In the back.
This is for anyone who wants to answer it. I noticed that when I play, when I lose, it's always because the opponent has massive economy. Do you have any tips for, building up your economy fast, and is there any tricks involved with getting your SCVs or your probes to mine faster?
What level are you?
I'm just in the old bronze level.
I would mainly focus on probably continuously building workers. I think at that level, you're probably slipping on macro, or you're continuously not building workers. I don't know what race you play or if you play all 3, but every race is going to have some kind of macro management. So for Protoss, it would be chrono boosting probes and just constantly making probes and making sure you're not supply blocked while still macroing and making units at the same time. For Zerg, obviously, it would be the larva inject, and also keep making drones, but staying safe from all-ins and other things. And as Terrans, you just need mules. So, yeah.
And this level, sometimes players forgot making all times workers. So it's very important to make non-stop workers before you get maybe. It depends what tactics you choose, but in start game you need always making workers if you want good economic.
Especially if you don't have mules.
Yeah. I heard mules are a good unit.
Yeah.
Mules crazy. And Terran have free command center. And flying on gold base, warping.
Do you think that
7 moves, yeah, and incoming too crazy.
Do you think that the mules on gold should be changed?
I think gold bases should be removed. They're like too important.
Yeah.
They're bad.
I don't like the aspect of gold bases either, and I think mules should cost some kind of supply to call
and
down.
For example, using gold base more easy for Terran and for Zerg. Protoss not many time can build safely Nexus on gold base.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
So I read in the pamphlet that Huck is Canadian and from the States. Who do you prefer out of the two?
I think I lived a better life in Canada. All right. I know I'm saying this while I'm in the US, but it has a lot to do with my living situation in both countries. And in Canada, I had a better living condition. I also agree more with Canadian politics and their view on the world. I don't know how to quite word this. I don't want to be like killed by the government or not, but obviously there's a lot of problems in the US and Canada, but I think if I had to choose, I would choose Canada over the U.S., but I hold loyalty to both countries.
How much of that has to do with the Tim Hortons?
Nothing. I hate Tim Hortons. I was actually going to join the U.S. military before StarCraft 2, so it's not like I hate America or anything. So I was going to join Air Force or Marine Corps. I was going to be a grunt in the Marine Corps, or I was going to be.
It's really funny. He actually wanted to be a grunt. Like that was his.
I
that was
did
his first
really
choice.
good on the military aptitude test, but I was like, nah. Nice. Nice.
Yeah, Huck say about problem in the USA and Canada, but he never been in Ukraine. Ukraine is much more big problem.
Or Africa.
Africa, it's.
We
We need help sometimes, people who need it.
Do we have any other questions?
I was just wondering, do you think it sort of takes a player of a certain level or skill set to truly understand the sheer amount of endurance, dexterity, and just definite multi-tiered sort of thinking and also intuition?
Just
that's sort of required for the game. Okay, and it's in White Raw versus the Muslim, there were just so many decisive moments that seemed like they were either just pure chance or it was just amazing intuition or timing or something. I don't know.
I just say it's more GG, more skill. You need to play more.
I think it's more about not the level of the skill, but just generally how smart someone is. I can take advice from people who are in diamond or platinum or even worse if I respect them and I think that they're intelligent and that they can view the game from an objective stance and give me good advice. But there's people that are pro gamers that I would never listen to just because they're just not intelligent or they see things too one-sided. So I think it depends person to person. Destiny, I like Destiny a lot. I would listen to him if he gave me advice.
There's a couple of different parts to that question, because one thing you said is endurance, and interestingly, I think lower level players kind of overrate the importance of endurance. I've never really understood that. Like, people look at a long run through a tournament and say, wow, it's amazing, he sat there and played 10, 15 games. And yeah, the stress of a tournament makes it harder to do, but really we play 50, 60 games a day in practice pretty regularly, and it's not actually that taxing. I mean, it's not something to be entirely ignored, but I think lower level players tend to overrate the impact of endurance. And as for the other stuff, yeah, it's entirely possible to understand the game reasonably well without playing it greatly, but there will always be some minor things that you just don't really appreciate because you don't experience them on that level.
So would you rate intelligence over just practice and think that some players will just have an edge because they think about the game differently?
You can't be good at the game just being intelligent. You can be good just by practicing, just like being dumb and working through something.
It's fair enough.
Like Huck did.
Exactly.
So Blizzard just released the win rates of the different races, and Turn is at almost a 60% win race against the other races. Why have you guys chosen your races, and why do you stay with non-Turn races if they're dominant?
Is that the adjusted win rate or raw value? Do you know?
You got to be
raw value.
Because they usually release that data with adjusted, where they actually try and take the stats and then like change it based on the leagues of the players. So it's actually pretty difficult to judge that.
So even so, do you think Turn's more powerful?
That's a fair question.
Only Mool and Ghost.
Yeah.
To
For some reason, I don't think he's a Terran player. For all of us, I think as far as changing races at this point, it's really, 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 really tough to do. I think we're all pretty identifiable with our races. Me and White, I can't picture White Raw playing Terran. And I can't picture Gregor's. Yeah. It's just, it's way too far into all of our careers, I think. I think maybe 1 or 2 players as famous as any of us would make the change throughout the rest of StarCraft 2, but it's very unlikely. And we're just all hopeful that Blizzard would fix some things eventually.
Maybe we have now bad time for Protoss, but I believe in future.
We're hoping. Yeah.
And maybe Blizzard need to make statistic in game. For example, I have a match list, but I don't know my statistic, how many game I play PvZ, PvT, PvP, and I won't see, for example, for how many games I play with each race, and how many games I won, and how many games I lost. It's, I think, very easy, but we not make it.
I have a question. Hey, how come you guys picked the races that you did?
Artosis convinced me Zerg was going to be good.
Are you angry at him for that?
Very, very angry.
Stephano?
I picked Zerg because it's a race that looks like more of a human in Warcraft 3. You have to get a fast expand, and yeah, that's it.
But I think Zerg more looks like undead in Warcraft. Creep. And upgrades for who get more units can move in faster. So in creep, they're very crazy. Speed Zerlings on creep, it's
slow.
Very slow, yeah.
Yeah, they get to their deaths really fast.
And I chose Protoss after WCG 2003. Before this, I play random. And get some not good matchup, not in good map. So after this, I make decision choose only one race. And why Protoss? Because this race have very strong units and very many high-tech units. For my game style, when I try make something interesting, something special and entertaining game, this race is better.
I picked Protoss because mainly SC1 pro gamers like Bisu. I just like the way a lot of like the Reaver highlights and stuff like that, and I just started playing them in StarCraft 2 and then stuck with it, and unfortunately hasn't turned out so well.
So what do you think about like the Protoss people we see coming up in Korea? Do you think that's just due to misplay, or?
You mean like the Code players that are doing well?
Yeah.
I think most of the Code Protoss players in GSL right now are significantly better than the Kodos players that are there right now. But still, they're not good enough to win a GSL. I don't think any Protoss right now is good enough to win a GSL, unless they got like insanely lucky.
Yeah, none of them really come off as talented as MVP or Nesty or anything.
Yeah, and they play
There's missing
Protoss.
stuff. Yeah,
That's
that
right.
too.
Yeah. Oh, you gave me that. Wow.
It's because of PvT only.
Okay.
PvT's fucked up though.
All right, so if we did have any questions that wanted to come from the chat, because we've got a good number from the audience. Oh, we got one more. Sorry, the microphone's a little far away. There we go.
Hi, guys. So you know in Brood War, like a lot of the fandom in South Korea is based off how sexy the pro gamers look. And I was wondering if you thought that I mean, you're all handsome people, but I was wondering if you thought there should be a greater initiative to make foreigner players more sexy to appeal to the. And this is a legitimate concern for me because like I had man crushes on like Stork and Bisu, and I'm sure you guys did too.
What about Nada? There's the Nada's body thread. Come on.
Yeah, Nada's body too.
That thread's disturbing. StarCraft 1 in Korea, like the fan base was big percentage of it was fangirls, so that contributes to a lot. Obviously, StarCraft 2 foreign fan base is largely male, so I don't think it's
unfortunately.
As important. Yeah. No, obviously it's important to like just be presentable in public and like present a good image because your sponsors, they're paying to plaster their stuff all over your body. If people don't want to look at you, that doesn't work out so well.
Yeah, I agree.
So are you secretly hoping for a Hux body thread?
Not gonna happen. Maybe Greg. Greg's been going to the gym more than me.
is there anybody else before we take maybe a couple last questions from the chat?
Where do you guys see yourselves individually a year from now, and I guess the game and the scene as well a year from now?
Okay. Hopefully, it continues to grow at the level it's growing now. I think as we progress, it's getting bigger and bigger with the launch of the expansion pack within the next year. I hope that'll spark some growth, well, more growth than what it is. But with like talks of all these rumors of MLG's plans next year and possibly having upwards of $1.5 to $3 million for tournament money, I don't know what more you could ask for. I mean, with that and GSL and all these other tournaments like DreamHack and IPL, that's just a lot of money, a lot of exposure. Me personally, being in Korea, I would like to see some of the other Korean leagues get involved. I think StarCraft 2 could do better in Korea if given the opportunity, but right now with only GSL, it's just hard for one company that doesn't have a channel specifically on TV to get it out there as much as some of the other broadcasters, even though GSL, I think, is doing a very good job as it is. I just think the more the merrier. And me personally, I just want to keep doing well.
Yeah, I think 1 year down the road, it's almost guaranteed to be the same way it is now, just continued growth, because all the tournaments are already planning big increases. IPL just announced another 4 events this size plus more. So I just think it's guaranteed to keep growing at least for the next year and probably for beyond that. And I continue to play competitively just like I am now.
So you think that Heart of the Storm will inject more like activity into the scene?
It'll inject a lot more public attention. It'll also mess up the game for a little while, at least a little while. We'll have to see what happens with that. But I mean, the competitive scene will keep going regardless.
One obvious question would be, like, with the beta going, would you prefer to have the tournaments be switching over to beta once it's closer to release, or just wait it out?
Wait it. It's when I think when as soon as BattleNet or whatever thing that's.
I think at release would be the logical.
Yeah. As soon as it's public to everybody, it should be institutionalized into tournaments. White Raw.
I agree.
Okay. Nice. Stephano?
So do I.
Okay.
I'm just looking to see if we have any questions in chat, because we did get. Oh, yeah.
I gotta sneeze.
I was pointing at you since you have your hand
I gotta
up.
sneeze soon again. I have to sneeze soon again.
White Raw this time.
How much do you think that the NBA lockout and the other sports issues that have been going on in the U.S. have been able to affect the esports scene?
Well, we have Gordon Hayward here because of it, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think StarCraft 2 is more interest watching when some real sport games.
Yeah, I think it's important that for individuals who are fans of StarCraft 2, they can basically, like, a lot of the male fans of like football or basketball or whatever, they're not completely active still playing their sports because of physical restraints or having a job or just not, being healthy enough to compete or not having like leagues that they feel comfortable playing in. Where StarCraft 2, you can be a fan, and even if you're older and out of shape or, have time restraints, whenever you're ready, you can just hop on BattleNet and play a few games, and you can still, grasp it and share the sport with everybody else. So hopefully esports becomes more mainstream and continues that path.
I don't know if we really have the exposure yet to kind of jump in. Like, NFL got really huge because MLB kept having lockouts or whatever for a couple seasons in a row. We're not really at the point where there's enough public knowledge that we are going to be the go-to fallback entertainment because the NBA is locked out. So I don't think it's really that big of a deal, but it can't hurt.
Yeah.
It's fair enough. Is there one player in particular in the open bracket right now that you just don't want to see make it to the championship bracket?
I don't even.
Question.
One player in the open bracket you don't want to see in the final bracket.
Who's in the open bracket?
Yeah, I don't really know who's there.
Yeah.
Besides
We don't
teammate.
concern ourselves with those people.
They are lower beings.
I don't.
Well, honestly, we need a player list if we're going to answer that.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
Do you have one? I mean,
Yeah, what about Gordon?
Him winning or him getting through.
I would be
like,
very happy
yeah,
if I ended up
so
playing
much
in round
pressure.
16. I love Gordon, but I hope to play him.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Seems to be mostly trolling in chat, so every time
Okay.
I look, I don't think any good questions. Do we have any more in the audience?
Yeah, do you think there's an opportunity for fantasy StarCraft? I mean, that's something that really helped to grow the NFL and Major League Baseball, and it's a way that, and it's a way for fan participation.
They have that on TL.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how
check
it is.
it out.
I don't know how it is for StarCraft 2, but in StarCraft 1, relative to the size of the scene, it was absolutely huge. Like people got really involved with it and
Yeah.
liked it a lot. So
I know
yeah, this-
for at least GSTL, they have like a point system with maybe prizes and stuff and monthly rankings and all kinds of stuff. So go check it out.
Yeah,
TeamLiquid.net.
It's pretty big.
And myeg.net.
especially that last one, myeg.net.
Yeah, there you go, Scoots.
Anybody else? Maybe one final question.
Yes. Do you think that maybe you as players are too visible? Because many of the games that we see at these tournaments, I might have seen them in some online cup just a week ago. So do you think that maybe you should stop? I know a lot of you are taking a tournament that only has like $500 prize money, taking it instead of practice, but do you think you should maybe play less tournaments so that you make the ones that you attend more special for the fan base?
Go ahead.
Stephano.
Oh.
I want to select him.
Yeah, I guess at what point it's not really worth the cost to make tournaments online, because you make much more on the stream, and yeah, you have to make a choice between make tournaments and show your strats, or just play later for fun and or seriously and make money as well. And for myself, I don't care about showing my strats to opponents, because there's only like 3 or 4 strats in Zags, so I can't really surprise my opponent.
In this event, just you spend too much time. You must waiting your enemy sometimes, and this you can practice in this time, because if he comment, you must start and go immediately. So of course, for me, for example, I not take part in online event only in a big tournament. So just save my time.
Yeah, it doesn't really dilute the entertainment from an event like this, though, because like, no online cup's going to match the excitement or the atmosphere of an IPL or an MLG or anything like that. The crowd, the importance of the match, the quality of the players, because you don't get us versus the Koreans or even us versus each other in little online cups. It just doesn't happen. So, I mean, most players choose not to do it for the other practical reasons that whiteRA and Stephano mentioned, but it's not really like damaging the viewership of IPL because we play online league once in a while.
Yeah, but it's good for young players who
Yeah,
need experience, and
yeah.
this event play a lot of people.
It's a good way for new players to rise up and get attention.
All right, guys, that's pretty much all we have time for here today. Thanks for coming. Thanks especially to the players and their teams for allowing them to have here. And we will have a demonstration from one of our sponsors about one of their games coming up next. So you should stay tuned for that, as well as you should check out our Twitter contest for Samsung. We've got some nice 3D monitors out there that people can play on if you haven't played on them yet. And all you have to do is tweet about your IPL3 experience and include the hashtag IPL3 and Samsung 950 series. And if you get enough retweets, you have a chance to win that monitor. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you in a little bit with our next panel. And thanks for tuning in.